Hi, well, I'm obviously not out on the riverbank. Yeah, the reason for that, two reasons really. One, I've got a bit of a cold, which I caught soon after having my flu and COVID jabs this year, so my body is fighting both the jabs and the cold. I think at the moment I don't feel that bright, but anyway, that's one reason. And the other reason is we've just had Storm Babet go over the country, and it's left the rivers in a pretty dire state, from what I can see from clips coming from local rivers on Facebook and what have you. So I decided not to go out this week, and hopefully I'll get out next week. So what I'm going to do is I recorded a short video a few weeks ago when the weather was a lot better, and I did it as something to keep in store just in case I couldn't get out on an occasion for one reason or another, which is what we have now. It's a short video recorded in the garden, and basically I just take you through the tackle that I take when I go fishing, which is fairly minimal, and that is intentional. So it will remind you of warmer times and it will just give you an insight into what I take out with me. So I hope you find it interesting. Obviously there won't be any fish involved, but most of us anglers are quite interested in the tackle as well as fish. So as I say, hope you find it interesting, and shall we get going? Okay. Hi, something a bit different. I'm sitting in my garden on a rather pleasant afternoon, and the reason I'm sitting here talking to you is it occurred to me that I rarely mention much about the tackle I use. I sometimes, well, quite often I suppose, tell you which rod I'm using, the reel, etc. But I don't go into a lot of detail, and one of the things that I've work towards is travelling as light as possible. So I thought it might be a good idea just to go through my tackle bags and show you what I take on a typical trip. Got a fairly small boot in my car, so there's a good incentive not to take too much. Plus the fact I like walking along streams, roving, which obviously the lighter the gear, the easier it is. So, okay, so what do I take? Well, first of all, obviously, I take a rod. Depending on where I'm going, that will be the choice of rod. And strapped to that with a couple of Velcro straps is my extendable landing net handle. So, that's fairly basic. Can't do without that. I normally also take a extendable rod rest with a screw bottom so I can get it into a tougher ground. I also take a bank stick, but I'm actually using it at the moment because my iPhone's sitting on it, and the bank stick is basically for the iPhone. I have my little camera that I use for most of the filming, and that goes in this bubble wrap bag in my tackle bag. There's a couple of nets I use predominantly. This one's a slightly bigger one, shake and dry, and then when I'm not expecting to catch things anywhere near as big, it's a smaller fast flow net, which is good for rivers. So the tackle bag itself is it's made by Chubb. Let's put this bag back in there. It's a very small bag. I think you can see the name on the front there, Chubb, which is quite a fitting name really, because I like fishing for Chubb. So first of all, it's got a top compartment in which I've got this little box, which we'll look in a minute. I've also got a hook box, magnetic bottom hook box, and a few disgorgers. there's a set of forceps sitting in the top of the box. I keep this Velcro band around it because it would be a disaster if this was to pop open and everything in it was to fall out, because there's quite a lot in it. If I just put the bag down for a minute and I can show you what's in here. So it's sort of all the bits and pieces that I would generally use. This hinge just come out. So some swan shot, some AA shot, a bit smaller shot, a small box of BB and number ones, and some float rubbers, some small edges, and some sort of line stops that I don't tend to use these days. A selection of these little beads that you can put on the line to attach weights to. The plummet, of course. A couple of heavier ledgers to grip the bottom where I want to do that. I use these little line stops quite a lot for link ledgering and also for stopping the float moving up and down. These things I've had since I was a lad. I'm always trying to use them in case I lose them, but I bought them when I was quite a young man, and I always thought they were quite novel. I put them in here, but I'm always frightened to lose them, so I've not used them for a very long time, but they're in there. A pair of scissors, obviously. Little sort of pair of grips in there for pinching shot, although I try not to use that because it can damage the line. And there's sort of a baiting needle you can see in there. So that is my odds and sods box that sits in the top of the tackle bag, and I can get to it from the top of the tackle bag quite easily. As I say, I put this on, which is now the wrong way around, just to make sure it doesn't pop open in transit and I end up with all bits and pieces everywhere. So in the bag itself, let's just do this up so the other things don't fall out. There's not a lot really. There's some sort of line, there's a bit of fluorocarbon there, and a couple of spools of sort of lower breaking stain line if I choose to use a hook length. That's the bag for my camera. This is my what I use for basically doing the intro videos and the sign-off videos. It's basically what do you call it? A selfie stick, but I've wired it up so I can connect a mic to the camera to get a better reception than just speaking to the camera a little, or the phone a little way away, because if it's windy you get a lot of wind noise. So as I say, I use for the intros and sign-offs. This is a little box that I have the camera fitting in for my iPhone. It fits on the top of the bank stick, so it isn't in there at the moment, but there's a little remote there that I can operate a camera or an iPhone remotely. Don't use that much, but it's there. A float tube, obviously. Got a couple of these. These are really for still waters, and I've got another one where I put floats in for moving water. Another little box here which has got various things in. Let's put this thing down. Find the bit where it opens. I've got some lighter 16-14 hooks tied to line Drennan, where I sometimes fish for, and there's 18 there. Fish for smaller silvers. Some smaller floats which are in there, and there are a few older hooks to nylon that I've had a long time and I don't tend to use, to be honest, but they're in there. So as I say, is another box of bits. This is my little permit wallet, so I keep all my fishing licences in here, as you can see. Board licence or EA licence, Angling Trust. Yeah, so that makes sure I've always got all my fishing licences with me. A couple of little pots here. This one's got buoyant casters in, which occasionally I might use. And I've actually forgotten what's in that one. Oh, it's just a few rubber bands. I don't know why I put those in there, but obviously there was an idea to put them in there at some point. And then finally, there's another little box in here with some other sort of a lighter line to nylon for fishing for silvers and that. And that is basically it. A set of scales. Flyweight. Which are nice and light to carry. So that's basically it, as I say, for the inside of the bag there. I've got a couple of pair of glasses here. One is reading Polaroids, and the other one's reading glasses. Sometimes for tying hooks on I can't see what I'm doing, so I need glasses. And in here I've got a power pack for my head cam, because it doesn't tend to last the course. It's quite simple. You just plug it in the bottom of the head cam, and I charge it up obviously after every trip, so it's available. And not sure what else is in there really. Oh, there's a little maggot feeder. And is there anything in there? No, there's nothing in there. So that's it really. That's, if you like, the main tackle bag. And as you can probably see, there isn't a great deal. There isn't a great deal in there. I bought this hat last year. I liked it because it's got this aerated panel in it, so it lets a bit of air in, and you can obviously have it popped up or popped down. So I'm not in the sun at the moment, so I'll dispense with it. And the second bag I take is this Quorum bag, which you can see there. In the top I've got a lightweight unhooking mat, which fits in there quite nicely. A water bottle, obviously, for drinks. I mentioned this in recent videos. There's a little vacuum flask I bought for keeping my cheese paste in, to stop it going gooey in this really hot weather that we've been having. I've got a couple of these old nut boxes or jars that I use for hemp and sweet corn. They work really well. And of course the obligatory towel for wiping one's hands. And there's another weighing bag in there which I don't really use much, but it's good to sit on if I want to sit on something. And then there's a front pocket here with lots of bits and pieces in it. Maggot catapult, a few open-ended feeders. There's an old-fashioned there, very good maggot dropper. A couple of sort of there's a line bobbin there to put on if you're using a ledger. Some suntan cream and some hand gel, and some of my cork. So, this cork I use as a bobbin, and this one I sometimes hook on the line to replace the ledger if there's some carp feeding on the surface or anything feeding on the surface. It just keeps the line buoyant. And I think that's about it really. So that is the grand total of my fishing tackle that I take with me, which I think you'll probably agree is quite minimalist. I've got two seats, one I use for the rivers. This one is by Witchwood, and it's not that light, but it's, compared to the big fishing seats, it is light. And it actually came as a bag with the seat attached, but I don't use their bag. I use my chub bag, so I just use this as the seat. And
the other one is what I'm sitting in, which is just a sort of garden or camping seat that I bought a little while ago, and it's superb. I use this when I'm going to sit all day in one place, and it's lovely and comfortable. It's not too heavy. It's certainly not as heavy as the standard fishing chairs. It obviously doesn't have the adjustable feet and the mud feet and all those sort of things, so it's got its limitations. But for me, it works great, and I actually fitted to it from my fishing chair. If you can see that on this camera, I can put in there a rod rest attachment, so to take the butt of the rod. Well, I've got the main rod rest further out. So that's about it. As I say, I'm making this video sitting in my garden on a nice sunny afternoon. I'll probably keep it as a fill-in video if on some occasion I don't get out fishing. I'll probably put it up on the channel then, probably when the weather isn't quite as nice as it is now, so it'll have the benefit of reminding you how nice the weather was. Anyway, so that's it. I hope you found it interesting. As I say, my tackle is the extreme opposite of some of the setups that people use these days. It's quite fascinating when I go to, for example, a popular commercial lake, and I walk around with I string one bag on one shoulder and one bag on the other shoulder. I carry the rod and the landing net handle in one hand, and then I carry the landing net, just the net, and the chair in the other hand, and I sort of walk around the lake, and often passing wheelbarrows where people have unloaded enormous amounts of tackle. Yep, that's the way I like it. I'm not one of these people who wants tons of tackle. I did go through a phase where I used to take 2 or 3 rods and a rucksack and God knows what else, but when I boiled it down how much I actually need for an average day's fishing, the sort of fishing I do, I just didn't need it. I've got everything I need in that setup I've just showed you, and probably more than I need. So that's about it. So, as usual, thanks for watching this, something a bit different, and until the next time I'm out fishing, it's bye for now, and cheers.